Did you know that nearly 1 in 3 people believe in ghosts? For centuries, stories of hauntings have captured our imagination, from the eerie whispers in abandoned mansions to unexplained phenomena in everyday homes. But what if I told you there's one case so terrifying, so meticulously documented, that even skeptics struggle to explain it? This is the chilling story of the Enfield Poltergeist, one of the most infamous hauntings in history. Stick around, because by the end of this video, you might just question everything you believe about the supernatural. It all began in August 1977, in a quiet council house on Green Street in Enfield, a suburb of London. The Hodgson family lived there. Peggy Hodgson, a single mother, and her 4 children, Margaret, Janet, Johnny, and Billy. They were an ordinary family living an ordinary life. But that summer, their lives would be turned upside down in ways they could never have imagined. At first, it was subtle. Janet, an 11-year-old with a bright smile and boundless energy, started noticing odd things. The bed would tremble slightly at night. Small knocking sounds echoed through the walls, but no source could be found. Peggy, the mother, dismissed these as quirks of an old house. After all, homes creak, don't they? But soon those knocks turned into loud bangs. Furniture began moving on its own. And then came the night when everything changed. Janet and her younger brother Billy were in their shared room. As they were drifting off to sleep, the dresser near the wall began to slide. Slowly at first, then with force, toward the middle of the room. Panicked, they screamed for their mother, who ran in to find the children trembling and the dresser far from where it should have been. Peggy tried pushing it back but felt an invisible resistance, as if unseen hands were holding it in place. What's going on, she thought. Was it the kids playing a prank? But their terrified faces told her otherwise. That night, none of them slept. By the next day, the activity had escalated. Toys flew across rooms and disembodied voices echoed faintly through the house. Desperate and terrified, Peggy reached out to her neighbors, Vic and Peggy Nottingham, for help. Vic, a burly man who didn't scare easily, entered the house to investigate. As he stood in the living room, a series of loud knocks echoed through the walls surrounding him. "It's as if the house is alive," he later recounted. Convinced this was beyond their understanding, the Nottinghams advised Peggy to call the police. When the police arrived, they too witnessed something unexplainable. A chair slid across the floor on its own. An officer, unsure of what to make of it, wrote in their report that no logical explanation could be found. Word spread quickly, catching the attention of the Society for Psychical Research. Maurice Grosse, an experienced paranormal investigator, and Guy Lyon Playfair, a respected journalist and author, took on the case. When Maurice first entered the home, he described the atmosphere as thick with tension. Within minutes, he witnessed a Lego brick fly across the room, striking him in the head. And this was just the beginning. The focal point of the activity seemed to be Janet. She would go into trances, her body contorting in unnatural ways. Objects around her would move violently, and loud knocks seemed to emanate from the walls whenever she was present. Then came the voice. One evening, as Maurice was interviewing Janet, she suddenly went silent. Moments later, a deep, gravelly voice emerged from her. The voice claimed to belong to Bill Wilkins, a man who had died in the house years ago. "I used to live here," the voice growled. "I died in the chair downstairs." What was chilling was that the voice seemed physically impossible for an 11-year-old girl to produce. Tests were conducted, and it was confirmed that the voice came from deep within Janet's throat, a place that normal human speech doesn't originate from. As months went on, the activity only grew more intense. Furniture levitated, family members were thrown from their beds. The house became a spectacle, with reporters, photographers, and curious onlookers gathering outside daily. Maurice and Guy recorded over 2,000 instances of paranormal phenomena. They captured furniture moving on film, objects being hurled across rooms, and Janet levitating several feet above her bed. Witnesses included journalists, police officers, and even skeptics, many of whom walked away shaken by what they saw. But not everyone believed the Hodgsons. Some accused Janet of faking the events for attention. At times, she admitted to playing pranks, but she insisted that much of what happened was beyond her control. Maurice Grosse defended her, stating, "No child could fake everything we've witnessed." The Enfield Poltergeist divided public opinion. Skeptics suggested that mass hysteria, psychological trauma, or even outright fraud could explain the events. Others believed that the Hodgsons were genuinely haunted by a restless spirit or something far darker. One theory suggested that the activity was triggered by Janet's adolescence, as poltergeist cases often center around young girls experiencing hormonal changes. Another chilling theory pointed to the house's history. Bill Wilkins, whose voice spoke through Janet, was real. Records showed that he had died in the house years before, just as the voice had claimed. By 1979, the activity began to wane. The Hodgson family slowly returned to a semblance of normalcy, though they never truly felt at peace in the house. Janet eventually moved away, but she later stated that the haunting never fully left her. Even Maurice Grosse admitted that he couldn't explain everything he witnessed. Whatever it was, he said, it was real. To this day, the Enfield Poltergeist remains one of the most documented and debated hauntings in history. It has inspired books, documentaries, and even blockbuster films, such as The Conjuring 2. But for the Hodgson family, it wasn't a story, it was their life. A life forever changed by something they couldn't see, couldn't fight, and couldn't escape. So what do you believe? Was the Enfield Poltergeist a genuine encounter with the paranormal, or was it an elaborate hoax? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you're fascinated by stories like this, be sure to check out our other videos, where we dive deep into the world of the unexplained. Thanks for watching. And remember, sometimes the scariest things are the ones we can't explain.